Good morning. It was very early last Saturday morning that the United States and Israel started a joint mission known as Operation Epic Fury, targeting Iran's military and leadership. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt says the objectives that the president laid out were, one, to destroy Iran's missile industry, to, quote, annihilate Iran's navy, to keep the regime's terrorists from destabilizing the region and attacking our armed forces, and four,
this mission will guarantee that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. It's safe to say that thus far, Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding success. American forces have struck more than 2,000 targets, destroying hundreds and hundreds of ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal was among the senators who got a classified briefing about the war on Wednesday. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Senator, welcome. I want to say for clarity that we're talking on Thursday, so things in the world change very fast these days. So you just had that classified briefing, and you heard the press secretary there say it was a resounding success. Do you agree?
I think it's way too early to say that this mission and war, it's now a war, has been a success. And, you know, I would quote a text that I received from one of our National Guardsmen, a member of the Connecticut National Guard stationed in the area in harm's way, who said to me, "What is the vision of success?" Meaning, how do we measure success? And I am totally in agreement with him. What is the end game, the objective, the strategy? I believe that a nuclear-armed Iran is absolutely unacceptable, and that we ought to stop its missile building, as well as its terrorizing the region, and its killing its own people. But are those objectives achievable by bombing alone? Probably not. In fact, regime change, which seems to be the ultimate objective here, the president has said that he wants to be involved in choosing the next government following the death of the Ayatollah Khomeini. He wants to be involved, in effect, in nation building. And that is a path toward a forever war, a regime change agenda that will put American troops on the ground. To answer your question very directly, I came out of that briefing, classified, secret, more fearful than ever that we are on a path to put our sons and daughters in harm's way. And as you know, I have two sons who have served, one as a Marine Corps infantry officer, Matthew, and the other as a Navy SEAL, Michael. I know what it's like to lay awake at night wondering how my sons are doing. And unfortunately, the 6 deaths that we've had to date are going to be followed by more. And the costs will be tremendous, not only in lives and money, but also in the cost of everyday goods. Gas in the pump is already rising in price, as well as other commodities. Groceries will also follow and rise.
I know there's many things from that classified briefing that you're not at liberty to talk about, but did you come out of that briefing with an understanding of why now? You talked about some of the things that you said might have been worthwhile objectives. Similarly mesh with what we heard from the White House, the general idea of what those objectives might be, but why now?
That's the key question, Eric. And the answer is they have been shifting explanations. You know, the president said the other day that he forced Israel's hand. Secretary Rubio said just the day before that Israel forced our hand. The press secretary, whom you just cited, said that President Trump had a, quote, good feeling, end quote, about going forward with this strike that started it. So the president's whim, his vanity, his vengeance against perhaps the people who made an attempt on his life, those good feelings about starting a war are no basis for judging that there was an imminent threat to this country. And the Secretary of State's definition of imminent was a year or a year and a half from now. So bottom line here, the president owes an explanation to the American people. He owes answers to those very questions that you've raised and that I raised during that classified briefing. I came away from that briefing completely unsatisfied, in fact, disgusted with the unresponsiveness and evasiveness of the answers that we receive. Now, there's a difference between tactics and strategy. Tactically, militarily, the armed forces of the United States are the strongest and most expert, bravest, and most courageous in the world, and they are executing missions with tremendous success. But there's a difference between the tactical successes and the strategic successes. To go back to the National Guardsman who texted me, what is the vision of success? How do we know we've achieved it? What is the end game? Regime change? Well, you can't do it by bombing. Regime change doesn't happen at 30,000 feet. There have to be boots on the ground, and I'm afraid they're going to be the boots of our men and women.
You mentioned that you believe the White House and the Trump administration owes an explanation to the American people. Do they owe some requests to Congress to be able to continue this? And what will you be looking for as far as Congress's role, the Senate's role, the House's role in moving this conflict forward? Are you going to be pushing them to come and get permission, get funding, have a scope in front of you? When does that kick in, Senator?
I'm on the Armed Services Committee as well as the Homeland Security Committee. There are threats not only to our fiscal situation, cost of living, men and women in harm's way. My first and foremost concern is the men and women who are in uniform and their families, but also to civilians, Americans in the region. There was no planning for how to evacuate them. And so my office has been deluged with requests for help. We have, in fact, helped many people. There are a couple of Woodstock students who are returning now as we speak from Dubai as a result of efforts that we've made on their behalf. The State Department offers services now, but it's catching up after the fact. And I will measure whether or not they're offering explanations by whether they come to Congress for approval of a war. Constitutionally, Congress has to be consulted, and our vote is necessary. The War Powers Resolution that we offered this week was defeated by my Republican colleagues. I believe they'll be held accountable, but we will continue to press for accountability, not only through the Iran War Powers Resolution, we may well vote again, but also through requests for funding that may be made. So those two channels for oversight and scrutiny are very much part of our agenda.
Well, it certainly will be interesting to watch this as it plays out. We so appreciate you offering your perspective on this. And I know a lot of people here in Connecticut, whether they have members in the National Guard or elsewhere who are actively serving right now or just watching world affairs, are so interested in it. Senator Richard Blumenthal, thank you for being with us. We hope to have you back, talk about more topics in the future. Thanks for being here on CT26.
Thank you, Eric.